Grand Rising family, how are y'all today? Let me know what city are you tuning in from? What's your name? What have you liked thus far about Blueprint for Black Power? And give me a second so I could go ahead and, do what I do as far as posting this to my other social media accounts. I'm trying to get on it fast, you heard? Even with this, I actually started late. Let me see, what else could I do over here? All right, what up with you? Grand Rising, and to those that don't know, we say Grand Rising because we're waking you up on all levels. Am I saying I'm the best? Not at all. I am saying, hey, oh yeah, y'all see me adjusting. I am saying, I guess I can take that side too. I am saying, I just find the information that I see that's pertinent, and I read it, literally, right? Read it, take notes, study it. You'll see me read it. But eventually I go through the books and I actually take notes, all of that. Like I really, really, really get into this. This is what I do, Yeah, I'm trying to make sure that everything is everything. I needed something in my background, something. All right. So let me go ahead and post here and get it going. But in the meanwhile, tell me what city you tuning in from. What have you learned thus far? Blueprint for Black Power. What was your favorite part? What are some things that were spoke on that you had some comments that weren't said? What books have I read that you want me to read again? What books have I not read that you would like for me to read? And let's get started. Again, I got to go post to social media real quick. So give me a second. 1, 2, 1. Here we go. All right now. Getting there, y'all. We getting to it. Here we go. All right, let's get to it. So what city are you tuning in from? What have you liked thus far in Blueprint for Black Power? Here we are. Welcome to part 19 for me, which will be chapter 7. And I'm going to do my best to read the whole chapter. As y'all see, if y'all can see my face, yesterday, did anybody catch? I fell asleep twice yesterday while I was reading. I know people like, man, just get you some rest. I will. But I can rest when I'm successful. I'm on the verge of being more successful than I ever had. So I'm just doing what I need to do as far as studying and staying on point. But I will be going to sleep very, 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 very soon. Okay. So let's begin chapter 7. Class, race, and power in America. All complex societies are characterized by the uneven distribution of wealth and income, prestige, privilege, authority, and power. They also exhibit unequal levels of consumption, differences in styles of life, attitudinal behavior orientations, and sets of values among the individuals and groups who constitute them. These uneven distributions and differences among individuals and groups that constitute a complex society provide the basis for ranking them according to class, as well as on other measures of relative degrees of inferiority and superiority, as noted by Dye. The most important basis of stratification in a modern industrial society are the different roles that individuals play in the economic system. Individuals are ranked according to how they make their living and how much control they exercise over the livelihood of others. Social class simply refers to all individuals who occupy a broadly similar category and ranking in the stratification of a social system. Social class may be defined functionally, i.e., in terms of division of labor, such as a division deemed necessary for maintaining the structural and functional well-being of the society. Certain occupational and social positions may be perceived as more important to a society's survival than others, requiring the acquisition and possession of special skills, special abilities, training and resources, motivation, and other personality characteristics not equally shared by others. Individuals occupying such positions may incarnate the prestige and power associated with these higher ranked social positions and the conferred advantages and privileges of such positions may offer. Social class may also be defined as the outcome of ongoing social competition and conflict between individual and groups over scarce resources, including property, income, wealth, power, and prestige. The outcome of competition and conflict between those who may already possess or control such resources and those who do not. Pardon me, between those who want to take possession of such resources or who wish to see them more equitably shared and distributed, or who want opportunities to gain access to them, remain equally open to all seekers. Class conflict may not inevitably result from the mere inequality of distribution of material and social resources, power, and prestige among various individuals and groups in society. For all members may, to a significant degree, share and accept an ideology which explains and justifies the distribution of power and reward in the society. Such acceptance thereby helping to reduce tensions between the classes or groups, perhaps maintaining class harmony of a sort. Class conflict may ensue, however, when higher ranked classes are perceived by the have-nots as having gained and as maintaining their positions by immoral means at the expense of the other classes, as seeking greedily to expand their possession and control of social resources and products, as seeking to monopolize social and material resources while depriving others of their rightful and necessary share of them, as seeking to protect their position in society and to confer their advantages on their descendants exclusively, as self-serving, restricting occupational opportunity and social mobility by using various forms of political, economic, and physical oppression. Social class and ethnicity in the United States. The United States of America is a nation state. As such, it contains within its well-defined borders a fairly large and concentrated multicultural population whose conduct, institutions, and economy are regulated by a recognized central government. It is a pluralistic society where wealth, income, property, authority, prestige, privilege, and power are markedly and unevenly distributed according to race or ethnicity and social class standing. Indeed, the uneven distribution of goods and services, resources and privileges, power and prestige among individuals and groups, a form of distribution legislated, administered, and maintained by the central government through the use of positive and negative sanctions justified and explained by generally accepted cultural and social mythology, ideology, provide the basis for classifying and ranking these individuals and groups according to levels of a class and degrees of superiority and inferiority. Hold on one second, y'all. This left eye right here, just a little blurry. American society's superordinate race and classes are people by whites of mostly Western European descents. Its most subordinate race and classes are people by blacks of mostly Western African descent. Decisive governmental and social political powers are centered in the white race, especially in the relatively small, virtually all-white male, generally hereditary elite. In this white-dominated nation state, the African-American population, through internally stratified along class lines, is essentially incorporated as a tributary, servant, consumer orientated, social caste. White elitist domination is dependent on a fully developed system of power relationships synonymous with the organized state and on white elitist controlled government and economic power employed to legislate and enforce order among the various subordinate people and classes. The predominance of white power, of more accurately, of white corporate elite class power, is maintained by backing of the centralized authority of the U.S. federal government, whose authority itself is backed by the military, paramilitary, and coercive power it has at its disposal. This use of governmental power is legitimated by a generally accepted sociocultural mythologized ideology designed to justify the class racial status quo. Let me repeat that because I probably stuttered so much you're like, what? The predominance of white power, or more accurately, of white corporate elite class power, is maintained by the backing of the centralized authority of the U.S. federal government, whose authority itself is backed by the military, paramilitary, and coercive power it has at its disposal. This use of government power is legitimated by a generally accepted sociocultural mythologized ideology designed to justify the class racial status quo. Remember yesterday, I put up a clip up under the early bird gets the worm reel stating that was Dr. Mayat and another brother scholar, I believe, who were pointing out that the church was basically against black people when they were pushing people out of communities or not allowing them into their communities. And the reason I was saying that is because they're backed by the government, just like the book just stated. And there's a lot of institutions that the elitists have backing one another so that they can maintain the, what do they call it? The class racial status quo. The upper white corporate class, which generally possesses and controls the largest amount and most highly valued productive properties and boasts the highest income, power, and prestige, is essentially motivated by and organized to realize its desire to consolidate its subordinate position in both the national and international communities. DYE, in his comments regarding C. Wright Mills, the power elite, aptly describes the characteristics of the ruling white elite. The unity of the top elite rests on several factors. First of all, these people are recruited from the same upper social classes. They have similar education, wealth, and upbringing. Moreover, they continue to associate with each other, which reinforces their common feelings. They belong to the same clubs, attend the same parties, meet at the same resorts, and serve on the same civic, cultural, and philanthropic committees. Members of the elite incorporate into their own viewpoints the viewpoints, expectations, and values of those who count. Factions exist and individual ambitions clash, but their community of interest is far greater than any of the divisions that exist. Perhaps what counts for their consensus more than anything else is their experience in command positions in great and giant institutions. Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. He goes on to note, power in the executive branch of the United States government, which most analysts now see as more important than Congress and policy formulation, is also exercised by individuals from the white upper and upper middle classes. Throughout the history of America, the white corporate elite has utilized the government and the social system for its own self-aggrandizement, self-enrichment, and political economic hegemony. This especially during This trend has reached tremendous proportions in the last 2 decades, especially during the Reagan-Bush administrations. The economic and political power gaps between white and black America, between rich and poor America, have widened alarmingly. In January 1991, the Census Bureau reported that the typical white household was 10 times wealthier than the typical black household. During the last decade and a half, the richest 1% of America, pardon me, the richest 1% of Americans, where was I? The richest 1% of American families achieved the largest gains in prosperity. 3/4 of the increase in pre-tax income went to the wealthiest 660 families out of a total of 66 million families. While black inner cities experienced actual declines in income, of families, almost exclusively white, and the top percent swelled to 560,000 from 335,000 for a 77% gain in a dozen years. In constant dollars, New York Times, March 5th, 1992, by the end of the 1980s, business executives were earning 120 times as much as the average worker, up from 35 times as much as in the mid-1970s. Aiding and abetting the accelerated enrichment of the rich and impoverishment of the poor was the fact that the top 1% paid largely. Aiding and abetting the accelerated enrichment of the rich and impoverishment of the poor was the fact that the top 1% paid slightly less than 27% of their income in taxes in 1989, compared with more than 35% in 1977. On April 21st, 1992, the New York Times, citing Federal Reserve and Internal Revenue Service data, reported the following. By 1989, the top 1%, 834,000 households with about $5.7 trillion of net worth, was worth more than the bottom 90% of Americans, which is 84 million households, with about $4.8 trillion in net worth. I don't know what it is. It seems like once I get to reading, my body be like, yeah, just lay it down, sir. Just lay it down. But I think that's because I'm working out and I'm still tired from the trip. The New York Times, October 5th, 1993, reported that the most affluent 1/5 of all families had incomes averaging 8.4 times the poverty level in 1992, compared to 6 times that level in 1967. This occurred at the same time that the least affluent 1/5 of all families saw their income decline from 97% of the property to, to 91%. I'm sorry. This occurred at the same time that the least affluent 1/5 of all families saw their decline from 97% of the poverty level in 1967 to 91% in 1992. The poverty rate for blacks was 33.3% in 1992, nearly 3 times the 11.6% rate of whites. Yeah, sorry about that. 33% in 92, nearly 3 times the 11.6% rate of whites. The Wall Street Journal, October 5th, 1993, reported that the richest 20% of households accounted for 46.9% of the nation's income, while the poorest 20% accounted for just 3.8% of income. A more telling comparison concerns the fact that the total income earned by 400 full-time workers paid the minimum wage of $4.50 and not $4.50 an hour for 50 weeks a year, which equals $3.6 million, does not equal the salary of the average chief executive at a large corporation, $3.8 million. The hugely increasing wealth of the wealthiest families in America is not merely the result of salary and earnings increases in the value of money and capital market instruments, property holding, and reduced federal taxes, but is also the result of federal entitlement spending, federal benefit payments to individuals, as reported by The Atlantic in April 1992. Only one of every 8 federal benefit dollars actually reaches Americans in poverty. It further reported that the most affluent Americans actually collect more from the welfare state than do the poorest Americans. Yeah, that's crazy. Moreover, the magazine reports the aggregate amounts received by the non-needy in 1991 were staggering. One half, at least $400 billion, of all entitlements went to households with incomes over $30,000. One quarter, at least $200. That's not bad. I don't know. I'm half asleep, half thinking about what I just read. But I mean, it's not alarming to me, especially when you read Powernomics and then when you just start looking at what's really going on out here. One quarter went into households with incomes over 50,000. So you had to have at least 30,000. But one quarter of them had 50,000 and they just making money left and right. Mm-mm-mm. So I'm gonna read these last 2 paragraphs and I'm gonna get out of here because I could force myself, y'all, but this ain't the type of book you don't get that attention to, and I definitely need to get it some more attention. If we were to add the enormous entitlements that both these classes receive from government, some of which merely alluded to above, including inflated monies earned by the military industrial complex and various types of government procurements, consulting services, and subsidies of all shapes, forms, and fashions forged by these classes, it will be glaringly obvious that the elite class are looting the nation's treasury, pillaging its resources, and mugging. Right? Pillaging its resources and mugging its working and poorer classes. And yet, the paradox is that these poorer classes, including Black Americans, seem to approve of their exploitation by the reigning elite when judged by the fact that their repeated voting in the office, national, state, and local regimes, those who serve as the instruments for facilitating their wholesale robbery by the elite classes. More succinctly, the paradox is that Black America, while complaining of oppression and exploitation by white America, has not consolidated its own considerable resources and reorganized its community so as to revolutionize its power relationship with white America and its subordination to that community. Even though the scope of this volume will not allow adequate answers, we must at least, what did it say? We must at least tentatively ask. By maintain its political, economic, no. Yeah. Mm. By what means does the ruling white elite, and by extension, the white race, maintain its political, economic dominance and power over America in general, and Black America in particular? This question suggests the counter question central to this book. By what means and methods of organization can Black America markedly attenuate or neutralize the power of white America, white domination, and its economic exploitation by this and other ethnic groups? So I'm gonna pause there because I could feel me going down, going to sleep. Yeah. But I appreciate you joining me today. I appreciate you for your patience. Yeah. When you tune in, let me know what city you're calling from. I hope your today is great. May your tomorrow be greater. Hotep family, race first at all times. And at all times, race first.